Hello, how are you today? Hope you are in a good condition and stay safe, yeah. Please follow the health protocol and obey the government rules so we can end this pandemic quickly. Okay, for today, what we will do? I have an interesting proposal for you that I would like to sharing about the book that I have read. I would like to review it and I in the international as the international relations to the perspective, because as I saw that this book it will be all of this topic in this book brought the issues of the IR itself and specifically in the social science. What's that book? As you can see that the title of this book is The Manners of the Crowd, Gender, Race, and Identity by Douglas Murray. And this is the example of this book. So there is a gender, race, and identity. So you can see that three main words that have been our concern in this issue in this century, because we face that there is a change in our social interaction patterns. The things that has been implemented to us in the dogma when look at other people, mainly if we see something different from us. So the Douglas Murray itself as writing an interesting book about those phenomena and show us the social commentary in the point of view of journalists. Oh, who is he? Douglas Murray is an author and a journalist based in Britain. His latest book, The Madness of the Crowds, Gender Race Identity, that I would like to review it, was published by Bloomsbury Continuum in September 2019. And this is a Sunday Times bestseller. He he is a graduate from Oxford, and while he's studying there, he published his first book named Bossy, a biography of Lord Arthur Douglas, and become a bestseller of that time. Oh, this is very interesting from him, because when he became the first timer of the writer, he brought the very interesting biography. And from his previous book, the name Stranger of Europe, Immigration, Identity, and Islam, it will be fundamental that he write this book, because that book right before this book. So where will we begin to talk about the discussion inside this book? The story began with Moore explicitly questioning the causes of the society interaction to others who has deeper interpretation with them. For instance, we could say that we as the men and see the other women, how like our perception for to them, and for those who see that people from the different colors, race, and this is the from the disturbing one, gay and trans. How you could see them in our society? What is your perception? As I can see that there is still racism and being a talk about identity of themselves, because as you can see that uh, we as the diversity society in this world uh, have need to be uh, have need to be united, because if we could still look at a strange eyes to them, we could be in the position of the vulnerability. That will be a divided, and there will be chaos if we have still a negative perception to them. So Douglas Murray have been proposed the knowledge and the insight from both side perspective, from the society itself and those who are has different interpretation in our society. I could not make divided for them, but I would like this explain as my perspective, and I hope that it will be not biased or subjective. And I would like to apologize first for my sounds and internet connection. And we shall begin with the this book. This book will divided into four chapters: gay, women, race, and trans, which is being to explore the ideology of the homosexuality, feminism, and also the race and the transgenderism. They were struggling to find a place in this mass of population. Murray argued that the fuel of powering this madness in the crowd, it is the identity itself. One, it is utilized as a weapon to win a political games. Identity become in power to shut down to the truth-seeking and bring the dogmatics to us. So uh, Douglas here that he would like to culminate it in the idea that to depoliticize this life. And please, he could say that he would like to uh, give a different perspective in this book to open their mind and see the bigger picture of what the problem in this center is in our society in these crowds. And Murray invited us if to converse with them and understand each other. Thus, it could slowly clean up the bad perception among diverse society, and we could depoliticize this life by finding the meaning of the from coexistence. We can interpret it as a choice that will be beneficial to ourselves. That is will be his final answer to our discussion. And I think that we as the IR student could look at also and should look at the bigger picture of what is happening. We cannot look at it from the first perspective or just from one person. We should know to each other from what happened and who will being in the opposition and who being pro about some issues. And this phenomenon in the social science will be help us to explain what it will be current happen and why it will be happen and how we could provide the solution or provide this to provide the mechanism to reduce this the madness the madness of the crowds. So I shall begin with the moral critique of the original gay itself. In the first part, the gay chapter combined that society look at the gay on the two sides, hardware and software issue. The hardware here means that the nature of homosexual cannot be changed. It comes from the gene when we are born. Thus, we could position themselves as the victims. But a software case where most of the gays save that from their lifestyle, from their surrounding, and they could lose their victim status because of that. Unfortunately, Murray traced this evidence and found the research conducted by UCLA that which is its DNA modification proof that the differences between genes in the gay people and a sibling that he complemented the evidence from the Swedish twin study on same-sex behavior suggesting that individual specific environment of individual itself play a significant role rather than the genetic factors. Furthermore, we will comprehensively describe gay as the people who wish to live with us, live with peace, live with their homosexual not being commented from us. He asserted that even the gays have the right And for example, in the US and the UK itself, he provided the example of the Gay Marriage Act that being implemented by the state parliament. And Douglas have been said that he contraried the argument from the society that if they gay marriage, they could not have children or they could be not happier. But Murray itself being provided and counter evidence based on the University of Melbourne research that indicating the children born from the same-sex couples would be much healthier and happier. This is also applies to the same-sex couple, a lesbian itself. There will be an interesting and we saw, and we would like to know an untold story. And I would like to open that my mind because he bring the perspective of the gay itself and being that we should not bring racist to them. He, they have a lot. There he have a life, alive. So we have a life too. We could respect each other. And in the chapter two, the feminism from the women perspective. That is the hot issue in the IRs today because even the UN itself being starting to implement the concept of feminism itself and proposed by Indonesian government that the next of the peacekeeper mission that will like invite the women from the across over the world to join the peacekeeper mission from the UN itself. And that would be very milestone for us in this world today because as you can see that from history that women still being in the home, that being in motherhood, but today the role is beyond that. And unfortunately, Murray also provide this counter evidence that why so being there's a radical feminism that think the man is the problem and positioning the woman itself they could conduct everything in this world without men. And I think that Murray assert they with included evidence from the statistical data that between men and women, that something men could do better than women, and and so for the women itself. And I could conclude that there is interdependence from men and women itself, and we could not separate it both sides. I'm also very appreciated about the Murray perspective about the feminism itself that they sometimes make it impossible demand, but I think that we still should respect that as men. We have to right to help them and being provide their our insight and could be lit, and work together to make the better environment. So we move, and the other chapter is race itself. And in this chapter, I would like to say that there is been a typo from the chapter 2 and 3, and the title could be race, not women. I apologize for that. And from the race part itself, Douglas Murray has expressing that racism occurred not only to the specific group but also to the people who usually indirectly express themselves as racist. How is that mean? Now I would like to give example by the Murray itself. He provided the example of the workshop attended by the British University lecturer. They are examined and acknowledge the white privilege as the basis for them being racist. And they emphasize that their witnesses is the destructive role. This is the I thought that this will be the indirectly racism for the white people itself, because it's not being the black people who get racism, but the white people indirectly get the racism itself. And other than that, in at the case of Edinburgh University, those people are not given a mic for asking a question in the conference. That kind of thing is certainly an astonishment to our society, where they want to express their good intention for anti-racism, and when they mispronounce or choose the word, they instead of turning to being racism. Uh, that could be, I think it's, uh, we should be careful what we will go and talk and what we will do, because we won't do it, but indirectly we do it. I think that will be a part that our society could be understand too. So the last part is the chapter 4, the trans, is the untold story of social advancement that brought by Douglas Murray is the perspective from the perspective of transgenderism. People might feel uncomfortable from there from today, from being men, that so he uncomfortable being men and he chose to be being a woman. Thus, that it illustrated that a little how a girl they are when it comes to making decision, as it is felt in the short term is a satisfaction. No one's know yet in the long term. So in this chapter, Murray put his concern and sympathy to these people. He argued that the trans right movement further shortened the discussion time thinking about the possibilities and the impact on other aspects before determining a reasonable decision. And this book's being provide an example of the in the case of the Sarah doctor, the real name was covered by the Murray. Her mom allowed the doctor decision to transition at the 17 years old. And when she asked her doctor, what if you felt if you needed to day transition? Her doctor answered, I'll kill myself. It is what the Murray and most of our society are worried about. Instead, the dreaded final decision gives the impression of discomfort due to the lack of education in genetical science, and it will be our obstacle that we are not being trained or look at being weird to the transgender, but I think that we could respect that they have time, they consider their choices before they're going to be trans. And I hope that they could be have consideration itself and being have the future perspective for their decision. Um, I have been pulled into this conversation within this book when Douglas Murray has delivered the perspective of related topic person who empirically underscores the situation. As people studying social science, particularly IR, it is direct it is directing us to increase our curiosity about a story whose uh, talk rarely appears in the public. This this book inserts the causes that underlie our society interaction pattern which change rapidly in saying something different, including he put the Marxist foundation that views economic previously from the working class as the victim. Today it's transformed from into the cultural Marxism that view sexuals and gender minority classes and racial classes as the victimhood. But Murray asserted that they are not always right and nice, or they might not be a victim. He also noted that the impact of technology development depicting the distance of our interaction with other people, and it affects us for not learning how to forgive what was said, and it is does not matter how long it was. Technology as it records a story that could be used to destroy someone it's deemed undesirable. Um, what can we do? The modern world is undergoing development. The technology also crosses boundaries. Our society is in the position of the vulnerable, disunity to the diversity and the difficulty of understanding it from of the other point of view. In this book, Douglas Murray has provided example from the abuse of the various identity movement to spread their hatred to the other, and it can destroy the innocent person or group of people. Even the group that support this victim can indirectly attack the possibility of from their acceptance in the society itself. Even though these innocent people have fundamental human rights, they are one of those who can be better than most normal people. Society and as a student who study in the social science, social behavior pattern become a reflection for us to provide something that has insight into other perspective on our society. So it's mean that if we have the other perspective and we could be provide as the bridging from these people to these people, we could do that and be pleased being a writer or being a journalist, so we could deliver someone view to someone view. So there will be a much better understanding, and they will communicate it indirectly. Adjust, Adjusting to the current trends can attract their attention quickly, and Douglas Murray was able to go beyond that abuse to criticize the intellectual basis and the question logical point. He take the view of two opposing sides so that we as the reader, so as the analysis itself, can understand what is happening behind the scenes. We can also consider our position if we want to comment or look at these people with the strange view. That will be good advice for us that Murray assert that in the first place, and on my introduction that in the Murray conclusion that we can do anything that if we could do as writer or as journalist, or there's just people that deliver a bridging the perspective that I was taught before, it would be very good and very respectful. And if we could do this and please depoliticize our life and our identity, because we live in a diversity of society that will need respect to each other to fulfill our need too. And if there is a negative perspective, how could we live in peace? We could not be live in these years of war again, and we want to that. So I hope that it will bring the uh, your interest and your curiosity to open your mind about these genders, race, and identity from the gay perspective, homosexuality, transgenders, and also the feminism. I hope that you could search this book online or be with few ones you can search in the very post itself. Furthermore, the social commentary has broadened this day, and the famous author, Eleven Scholar, wrote several books, journals, and articles. I could recommend the other Douglas Murray books before this book, The Strange Death of Europe, as being uh, said before, as I mentioned, the madness of the crowd was inspired by the strange death of Europe itself. The book was discussing the phenomenon that happens particularly in the European continent, which those are including declined birth rates, mass immigration, self-distrust, and resentment against outsiders. Moray does not only emphasize the demographic and politic around Europe, but it also can include an area from which immigrant came from, which an area which immigrant came from until the place where they are disliked. He demonstrated a failure of multiculturalism and the turnaround of European leader. I hope that there will be a suggestion for you for now, that I hope that you will utilize your time to read and to understand and look at the bigger picture, some problem and this particular issue before you comment that, before you use social media to spread the meaning of the dogma itself. I hope you can enjoy it, and further thank you and apologies from our mistaken, and see you.